What happened to all the outrage? What happened to all these supposed boycotts? What happened to all the people on social media who were claiming they were not going to be watching the Olympics? Some of which are still claiming they're not watching, but the ratings say otherwise. As my longtime viewers know, I have no problem admitting to you guys when I'm wrong about something. One of the risky things about making predictions, and one of the reasons that some are afraid to make predictions to begin with, there's a 50-50 chance that you're going to be wrong. Now, me personally, I don't care about being wrong. I mean, obviously, I want to be right, but I'm going to tell you exactly what I think, whether I turn out being right or wrong. This past weekend, I was wrong. I was clearly wrong. After the disgusting opening ceremony Friday night, where deacons at Woke United Methodist openly mocked Christianity by organizing the last woke supper, I thought it was going to have a devastating impact on the Olympics. In the past, we have seen countless examples of how the woke fungus destroys a television audience. 2016, Colin Kaepernick, captain of the Bum Squad, his NFL career was floundering. He realizes that he is on his way to standing next to Jamel Hill in the unemployment line, so he trades in his helmet for a set of knee pads and he starts kneeling for the national anthem. As a result, NFL ratings dropped, I believe it was around 20%. Summer of 2020, the NBA, they decide to embrace the woke wiener. Record low ratings for the NBA playoffs and record low ratings for the NBA finals. Well, Casey, what about the WNBA? The fungus destroyed the dump too. In order for something to be destroyed, it first has to be built. The WNBA dump never built an audience on television. Ratings were so low, they were losing to reruns of Gunsmoke. The woke fungus, it has destroyed CNN, damn near eradicated the worldwide leader in woke ESPN. Damn near everything infected by the woke fungus, it ends in destruction. And I thought it was going to be the same case with the Olympics. But as of right now, it looks like I thought wrong. If you haven't already, make sure to like and subscribe. You can follow me on Twitter at KC_BTL84. Friday night, opening ceremony for the Paris Olympics. Over 28 million people tuned in to see the cousin of Lizzo consume the Last Supper as the drag queen apostles watched and starved. Now, this sparked immediate outrage on social media. Christians, they were pissed off, and rightfully so. This never seems to happen to other religions, other faiths. Doesn't happen to Buddhism, doesn't happen to Hinduism, damn sure never happens to Islam, and it shouldn't happen to any religion, but it only seems to happen with Christianity or Judaism. I wonder why. In response to the outrage, the Olympics, they sent out a spokesperson along with the organizer of the demonic display to make excuses for their debauchery. We didn't mean to offend anyone. We weren't mocking Christianity. We were emulating Greek mythology. We were just trying to be inclusive. The Olympics are for everyone except Christians. Maybe the people who were offended by this, maybe they decided to turn the other cheek. Maybe they decided to practice one of the tenets of the Christian faith, forgiveness. Because 24 hours later, over 32 million people watched the Olympics in prime time on Saturday night. When one of my channel members sent me this data yesterday afternoon, I was immediately skeptical. For starters, since about the middle of June, ratings have been very hard to obtain, and when I say hard to obtain, I mean damn near impossible. We are no longer given access to the raw data and allowed to interpret the ratings ourselves. We are no longer given a list of every program on cable and the ratings that each program generated. Now, it seems like we are only given the ratings that they want us to see. We're only given the ratings when they are positive. Why? I have no idea, but the skeptic in me says they are trying to hide something. But as it turns out, the 32.4 million they're reporting that watched the Olympics Saturday night, that number is a bit inflated. The number includes viewers from NBC, Peacock, USA, CNBC, and the handful of other platforms that broadcast the Olympics. Well, KC, how is that number inflated? They are just combining viewership across all networks. Yeah, I'll tell you why it's inflated. NBC, they are also combining the audience that watched the Olympics live Saturday afternoon as they were taking place with the audience that watched in prime time when it was airing on tape delay. So, for example, if you watched an event on CNBC during the afternoon live and you watched a different event on NBC in prime time Saturday night, you were counted as two viewers. You multiply that by several million and you get inflated ratings. But either way, whether they were inflated or not, the Olympics, they still delivered huge ratings for NBC. Even if 2, 3, 4, 5 million people were counted twice, we're still talking about 25 to 28 million viewers. The real question is, how? How did this happen? How were people so outraged Friday night, but they still tuned into the Olympics 24 hours later? Obviously, no one can know for sure, myself included, but I did come up with a few theories as to why the Olympics weren't impacted by their demonic display. Number one, women love the Olympics. Men and women, we are completely different. When men are pissed off about something, we want to take action. Colin Kaepernick kneels for the national anthem. Dude, stop watching the NFL. LeBron James puts on his Superman tutu to combat mythical racism. Men turn off the NBA, with a lot of those men never returning. Bud Light hires Dylan Mulvaney to endorse their shitty beer. They've never recovered. Men, we are very regimented, very habitual, and once you piss us off and our habits change, it is damn near impossible to get us back. Now, women, on the other hand, they tend to be more nurturing. Instead of making fun of Lizzo's cousin Friday night, women, they're more likely to feel bad for her. Oh, that poor thing, she just needs love. Which is why it was very surprising last year when women effectively boycotted Target. But there's a huge difference between Target and the Olympics. Target made the major mistake of going after the children. My mom, she's very religious. She was upset with what happened Friday night, but when I talked to her on Saturday, she told me that it wasn't going to stop her from watching the Olympics. Same thing with my wife. You know what we watched last night? The Olympics. Why? Because she wanted to see Simone Biles. Number two, maybe people have reached the point where they're no longer allowing deacons at Woke United Methodist to ruin things they enjoy. For years now, we've allowed the deacons to destroy our traditions, boycotting the NBA, boycotting Major League Baseball, the endless Pride Night celebrations in the NHL. Hell, until this year, the entire month of June was completely ruined by the constant celebrations of Wiener. People quit supporting Disney. People quit watching ESPN. Maybe the country has finally reached a point where we are no longer allowing the shit fucks to ruin our happiness. Did you notice this year? We barely heard about the Pride. There was no outrage. There was barely any mainstream media coverage. For the most part, Pride Month was completely ignored, which leads to possibility number 3, and this could be worrisome if it's true. Maybe people have become desensitized to everything. Maybe people have become used to it. I remember back when I was in middle school, this was during the peak of school shootings in the late 90s. Seemed like every week there was another school shooting. My history teacher, Mrs. Anderson, she was talking about the increased violence in my generation. She was blaming video games, violent movies, rap music. She was blaming the typical things that adults blamed back then that all of us kids enjoyed. But she said something that I've never forgotten. She said, when you see someone get shot in a movie for the very first time, it's shocking to you. You might close your eyes, you might turn away from the television because your mind, it's not used to that level of violence. When you see it the second time, it's not so bad. Third time, fourth time, until eventually it no longer phases you. You get to the point where you see something like that happen and it's just another day. I wonder if we have reached that point with Woke United Methodist. One thing that was glossed over Friday night by most people, myself included, I didn't even notice this until someone else pointed it out to me. There were kids involved in that skit that mocked the Last Supper. 3 or 4 years ago, there was outrage when kids were allowed to attend pride parades. Back then, the outrage would last for days, sometimes even weeks. The outrage with the Olympics, it lasted 24 hours. By Sunday morning, everyone had already moved on. Hell, by Saturday night, everyone had moved on. Over 32 million people watched the Olympics Saturday night, so they must not have been that upset. Maybe we have become desensitized to it. Like I said, Pride Month went completely unnoticed this year. There were still parades, the wieners were still being grilled, the preparation H was still being applied. No one cared. More than likely, probably a combination of all three. Women love the Olympics, people are no longer willing to let Woke United Methodists ruin things they enjoy, and we've become desensitized. Part of me's glad to see the Olympics pulling good ratings because the athletes, they deserve to be recognized. Last night, I'm watching some of the girls. I think they were on the American swim team. They were tearing up during the playing of the national anthem at the medal ceremony. They deserve recognition. They spent years busting their ass to get to this point. They've earned the right to have millions of people watch them excel. That should not be ruined because the IOC wants to use the opening ceremony to indoctrinate. But you tell me, I gave you 3 possible reasons. Why do you think ratings for the Olympics hit multi-year highs? I thought they would struggle, especially with the level of outrage we were seeing Friday night, but why do you think people were willing to look past it? Now, to be fair, it is still early. There's still plenty of time for ratings to decline, but unless something drastic happens again, I don't see it happening. Give me your reason. Sound off in the comments below. Like, subscribe, share the video. Appreciate your support. Best way to contact me is by email at btlkc84@gmail.com, and I'll see you guys tomorrow.